hear you through my ear.
I know you want to hear me through your ear. Now we're going live, sweetheart. So
Oh, we live already? That's
yeah,
embarrassing,
we
isn't it?
are. It's okay. No
What a
one's here
pro.
yet.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Yes, good evening.
I can take
Do you
this
want us
out then. I can take my CIA earpiece out now then.
Yeah.
That's not happening. Okay. Well, yeah, good evening, everybody. We've had a really busy day here, but this is just so nice to relax at the end of the evening and almost start another day and say hi to whoever's here,
Yeah,
which isn't
someone's
many
joined
people.
us already.
Sorry, say that again.
Someone's just joined us, and let us know who you are.
Yeah, please do. We're gonna leap on you as our
Yeah.
only viewer at the moment. In fact, we're so glad you're here. Oh, they've gone again.
Oh no.
Yeah,
We must
maybe I shouldn't say we're gonna leap on you.
Yeah.
That's what did it, I think.
Terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, they're gone. They're gone. Tell you what, I'm not showing off or anything, but maybe I should add it to my timeline.
Yes, maybe you should.
Let's see what happens. Now let's see if pride comes before a fall.
People don't get notified of things on my Facebook. Like it's like they're you know how Facebook can change its I can't remember how they describe it, but like if they think you post things that go against their community standards, they make sure that
yeah, well, they always think that about you, don't they?
Yeah, and so they think that I think they show my posts or make them less available to be seen.
Yeah. Well, it's either that or you're not very popular. I'd go with the first one.
Or both.
The first one sounds much better in terms of conspiracy mom's cred, doesn't it? Like
So
I would have so many people watching me if it wasn't for Facebook's bad treatment of people like me.
Well, yeah, share it on your Facebook page and let's see if anyone
I've done
joins.
that. So yeah,
They're probably
it's not
your
very
friends.
it's not very spiritual, but we have a little competition here. So at the moment, it's one each. We've got one person from Carl Munson's timeline and one person from Louisa Munson's timeline. So can you tell us who you are?
I think they're yours. Or someone's just liked that.
Lee's here tonight. Lee's probably had a few beers and just thinking, what the bloody hell is this all about? Bloody spiritual old bollocks. But I know you're a closet new ager, really, Lee. In there, how are you? Hope you're well. Probably been a balmy day in Lisbon, and just getting ready here. I've got me virtue signaling mug, believe in people, and I've got my colloidal silver spritz as well. It's so worth it. And you're such a pro. You've put perfume on for this, haven't you?
Yeah.
Didn't go unnoticed.
I want to feel good. I want to smell good, and that that you feel better, don't you? If you know you've done all those bits.
If you smell good. Well, I never bother about that in the mornings because I get until Facebook can actually help people to smell you. I think I'm quite safe. But can we? Any chance you could do these lovely? What are they called? Not testimonials, but comments, reviews that have come in.
Yeah, we've had some really nice ones because in this last week we had we've been quite busy and we had a lovely conversation, both of us, mainly Carl actually, because I was called off to do the kids stuff. But we had a lovely conversation with Jeff Granville on Tuesday night.
Granville.
Oh, and he's awesome. He's so great. And where I shared, I also did an interview with him separately, which I think is really worth watching, especially if you've got some kind of trauma hidden or built up under your skin, because he teaches you the first part of his somatic trauma release technique. So that's worth listening to. But we had a few people comment, and I think they might have come in because I shared it on my timeline, and Jeff had shared it as well. And so I think they're from like Jeff's crew. But anyway, well, Sharon Munday definitely is. So Sharon Munday has said, I watched this morning. What an amazing and inspiring space. So sacredly held by all three of you. Bless her. Please let me know. I'd love to be there to support you anytime you go live. Fabulous fireside chat. I felt so warm and welcome. And I always learn something new each time I hear you share. Beautiful. That's really lovely. So big shout out to you, Sharon. I know you work with Jeff. So yeah, I don't know if you're going to be watching live right now because you're probably busy doing stuff on your Saturday afternoon, but thank you so much for letting us know that. And then we've got a lovely comment from Susie Cantor. And I don't know how Susie, how did you find us? Let us know. I'd love to hear. But she's just shared with us, just watch this. And it was outstanding. An international internet sensation. Wow.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's just like Carl and I sat in different rooms in where we're living at the moment while the kids are in bed.
Yeah.
But,
this is our idea of fun on a Saturday night.
But it's nice. But we had chats we chat a lot about stuff all the time. And then Carl, when he woke up this morning, was just like, I've got it. I know what the answer is. And I was like, what are you wondering about? And he said, I know what it is that I do. And so this is this subject for tonight about us owning our spiritual growth or owning our spiritual hang-ups or whatever it is that we do. That we do stuff. It's like our blind spot. And so Carl and I were just like deep in conversation for a good couple of hours this morning about it, and just thought it'd be an interesting one to have a chin wag about tonight and see what your spiritual hang-up sort of stuff is. So Carl, do you want to say something? Because
I've forgotten what I said now.
Well, I was hoping it'd get committed to video so that when I
see. That's smart.
I was thinking, yeah, let's do this proper chat, because when you start playing your normal
games,
trick, when you start playing your spiritual games, I can get the video out and say,
you said it that time on the show. Well, okay, yeah, I'm happy to. Before we get started, though, I'd just like to plug my book that I wrote, because I wrote it in 2001, 20 years ago, and I still don't think I've sold more than 10 copies, which is pretty bad, isn't it? Almost half a copy a year, isn't it? And I'm giving it away now. I can't even give it away. But the reason I was reminded of it is because one of these wonderful ladies here, Sharon or Susie, is part of the Heart Math Institute. Is that right? I hope I'm not breaching.
Yeah, Sharon. Sharon.
Yeah.
She I friended her up today, or she friended me, and I was looking at her Facebook timeline. It's like when you got a new Facebook friend, you think, I better find out, who this person is, and
if they're just trying to sell me Bitcoin. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, there's a connection to the Heart Math Institute, and when I wrote this book, one of the quotes from the book got used by I think it's the Heart Math Institute. What does that say on there? Got it. What am I doing? Is that the cookies? Okay. 10 people have downloaded it now. Marvelous. I mean, it has been available on other platforms, and someone did call it Yoda-like insight. So I was quite pleased with that 20 years ago. But it's written as 100 kind of little pithy contributions, insights, and it's quite intense and earnest, as you might imagine, from a 30-something spiritual guy. Well, that certainly was me anyway. And you'll see I'm quite self-deprecating in my own review of my book there. Even used the word basically a little bit wanky, preachy, but altogether well-meaning. I mean, that just about sums it up. Yeah. But also it says, see for yourself. Sorry, go on.
It's funny that, when we're talking about combining what we both do and doing some videos and stuff, that you said, let's call it Spiritual Portugal, because you do everything you can to avoid anything with the title spirituality, don't you, really?
It's just a push button sort of area, isn't it? But what can you do? You have to kind of nail your colours to the mast at some point. So Spiritual Portugal it is, but I think we should take our own pulse every now and then and be open to. I was going to say ridicule. Ridicule's not right, because it's trolling and just we've been through all of this, haven't we, over the years, of people just taking the pee and being negative and unconstructive. I'm all for having a constructive debate, not a debate even, but a conversation. Yeah, a constructive communication. I totally welcome that, and I don't want it to be an echo chamber. If that's what you're getting at. Well,
we're losing our viewers so far.
Okay, so maybe I need to step it up, do a bit of material, something like that. I don't know. You sing a song, but the great thing, how you console yourself with such low numbers like this, is to say that it's probably quite inconvenient for people to be watching at this time, and most people watch on the catch up on YouTube.
That is true.
that will be statistically correct. That we could say, 5 times more people watch on catch up, which would make it 10. So, but if you are listening now, we treasure you.
We really do treasure you. It's who you are.
It's just like Monty Python's sperm. You are sacred to us, each and every one of you. So do say who you are, and even if you've just popped it on and gone to make a cup of tea, or you're watching the telly now, even that, it means something to us, doesn't it? So we appreciate it. But the reason I was mentioning the book, it was because one of the pithy quotes, the reviving insights, as I think I used to call it. And the whole idea was, at that time I was thinking, coming back to life is what people need to do. A bit like how people call other people sheep now. It was my own effort at that. I was accusing people of being in a slumber or being asleep or being unawake, and these were the insights that people could have to wake them up. I mean, what was an arrogant so and so was I? I'm a little less arrogant now, I think, or I'm just as arrogant, but still with a little bit more
ability now, I think.
A little bit more, maybe I can take the pee out of myself a bit more, as well as being terribly arrogant at times.
Older, life knocks a few sort of like sharp edges off, doesn't it?
Exactly. Takes the stuffing out, rubs these sharp edges off. And one of the things in there was I was quite pleased with that the Heart Math Institute picked up on was the universe is a big place, but don't worry, you'll grow into it, which I thought was rather good at the time. And they picked that up and ran with it and quoted me on the internet, don't you know, along with other people like Einstein and I don't know who else, who the Heart Math Institute would quote, probably some real heavyweights, Gandhi, and there I am, possibly alongside those people with my universe quote there. So if you want it, there it is. I mean, I can put the link to that page. You can also download the you can subscribe to Hello Minati at that place as well. Look, should you have a quick look at that while we're about it? Did you enjoy that at the time?
Yeah.
This was this
last hilarious year when you put that together.
Yeah, and I've got mixed feelings about the conspiracy theory scene and what that does to people.
Well, you did that just as much to take the mickey out of me, didn't you?
Possibly a little bit, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Rather than other people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just scared to even say it. What's behind these jokes on the front page here? The Greta Good and the Who's Who Minati in the first issue there, and it's
I quit my life in Dublin to marry the president, Michael Obama.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So maybe we'll get rid of that now, because I'm getting scared. And
okay.
Time to own some baggage, right?
Yeah, come on. That's what we said we were going to do.
That's what we said we would do, right? And
why did you want to talk about it tonight? And how did you feel when you had your realization this morning?
All right. Well, in the spirit of being part of a more rounded, mature spirituality that's not echo chamber, and that it's not too up itself. It was to do with this idea. This is quite a big thing at the moment, isn't it? About having healthy boundaries and dealing with narcissists, and it seems statistically
a bit of a buzzword, isn't it? Narcissism and
yes, I'm. People say I'm not keen to have psychopathic narcissists in my life, and I'm doing my best to draw up healthier boundaries. I'm not making light of that, because obviously that does happen, and it's awful for people. To be in the company of horrible bullies and people who are gaslighting them, and this goes on. And I'm not knocking that or taking anything away from someone who's genuinely in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think people can possibly get a little bit. I don't know. Maybe. Okay. What I'm trying to do is see it from a more holistic. Like, we use the word holistic, don't we? And I want to see this from a more holistic perspective. The people who, and you and I both have said this in the past. It's good to have healthy boundaries and get rid of toxic people, etc., etc. And it just occurred to me that that can be quite one-sided, and that can minimize the role we might have played ourselves in that. So because at the same,
like what you're sort of implying is, for every narcissist, presumably there's someone playing victim. again?
Well, I don't like to say that either because I don't know. I'm not saying there's no. I don't think there's a rule to it. But I'm aware. The reason that I wanted to call this owning stuff is because I'm talking about my own experience. But I'm just trying to set the scene. I'm not trying to say definitively what happens in these situations for everybody. But clearly, there's something of that going on, isn't there? Is that if you I mean, I think I pulled you up about this, didn't I, yesterday? If your comments start with they rather than I, it's very possible you're going into a victim state of mind.
Well, you're definitely doing some form of projection, aren't you? You're definitely, commenting on stuff.
And the same situation can be described from both points of view, can't it? It can be. You could talk of a situation that you struggle with, and you could say, I really struggle with that. Or, as an example, they made me feel really bad. Yeah, and I don't think you can draw any hard and fast conclusions from that. But there's something there. There's something to work with there, isn't there? Depending on the languaging that goes on, and it's in that spirit that I felt I needed to own something, which is that I had a really difficult interaction with somebody, and it's ongoing, and I will speak to them directly as well about this. The timing hasn't been right, and I will do it. I have an apology to give this person for what I call minefielding them. And it goes back to the book as well, because I talk about emotional minefields, how somebody walks into your life and you might do emotional terrorism on them and they don't know why. And from my point of view, it's like, well, they shouldn't have trodden there, but they didn't know that there was something waiting to go off under their foot unless I mean, the whole point of a minefield is that's what happens. It surprises people. That's why I use that metaphor. But I realized I minefielded somebody and got quite, I wasn't openly angry towards them, but there was a definite change of atmosphere and I felt really bad about it and felt really bad in that situation and had to withdraw because I got really triggered and rattled by it. And on later reflection, I mean, on the first thing, I just thought they hadn't. We love this phrase, when you do someone a solid. They done me a liquid. Is that the opposite of doing someone a solid? They did me a liquid. As in, that's not a bad turn of phrase, is it? Because I was very stirred. I was very emotional as a result of the interaction, and I realised after sleeping on it, not purposefully, but I just, considering it again the day after, I had minefielded them, which is, I suppose it is akin to gaslighting, isn't it? It's like having someone inside your energy in a way that's not entirely fair or helpful. And they had trodden on something that I didn't tell them was there. And I felt quite justified in my offense and anger about it.
Maybe set them up for failure in your
Well, I don't know how much setup there was. I just had to check how righteously indignant I'd been because I hadn't told them. I mean, and that's why it's connected with setting boundaries and having good communication with people. Because if as a people pleaser, and it's all coming from the habits that are set in early life in how we approach life and our winning formulas and our survival strategies, etc. Totally see that. But if they are to, and you helped me unpack this, didn't you? I've been in many situations in my life where I've kept going and been dutiful and been people pleasing and taken on a lot of responsibility. And not that anyone's asked me to do it. I've taken it on myself to do that. And then I get to a point where enough's enough. But those people who I'm working with or living with or whoever, they've no idea I've got to my limit because I haven't coached them or alerted them to the fact that I was getting close to my limit. And that's what I think minefielding is where you don't have healthy communication up to that point where you emotionally, metaphorically blow someone's leg off with your outburst. And they just, all they've done is gone for a walk in the field and this happens to them. And I just thought how unfair I was in that situation. And I will talk to this person about it and say that that's what I did. And an apology is due on that basis. And it was a lesson. It was a coaching, a look in the mirror to think, well, hold on, how could this work better? People need to know sooner in the process, and to not swallow things or make things okay in my own world, but to say, you know what, I don't think this is going so well, or I don't really. This is not how I would have it ideally. Much earlier in the conversation. But if you're one of those people who just swallows it and just keeps going and making it okay, very likely you'll get to a point where you'll blow up and stop, and it'll be a complete surprise to those people who you blow up at, because you've seemed okay for all that time, because weeks, months, years even, and it's like, wow, that person, what happened to that guy? He just went mad suddenly one day. They haven't got the whole backstory of how that built up over time, because that guy never said anything. And I don't know if that makes sense, or if anyone can relate to that.
Yeah, I can. Let's just sort of introduce some of the people that are listening tonight.
Yeah.
If they'll join us and let us know what they think they might minefield or set people up for. So Lee's here saying good evening. I think you've already said that Lee's watching. I think you got a different message.
Yeah, Lee.
We've also got Victoria Benson, who's saying, hey, lovely Monsons, I'm racing around here, packing things up to visit my son for his birthday tomorrow in Savannah. Happy to have found you online tonight. Thank you for doing all that you do. You're very welcome.
Oh, bless you. Thank you, Victoria.
And Victoria's also added, we were busy helping him move all week long. Now it's my turn. Fingers crossed I will hear something about my visa coming this week, flowing with the universe. Oh, I really, really am with you. I'm crossing my fingers too. Yeah, it would be rather good for you to get that visa. That would be amazing.
Yeah, good luck with that. Bonsoir, Victoria. We're also moving. I mean, this moving's. I mean, I get the feeling, Victoria, you're no stranger to it.
A lot of packing at the moment.
But therein lies another challenge, right? That a little bit of lesson learning and discovering more about yourself and losing it and regaining it, and what better baggage mirror could you look for than moving home and being faced with all your physical stuff, which has a load of emotional stuff attached to it. And then I've been quite we met with Barry and Lisa, a couple of wonderful Americans came over, wanted to meet up and have lunch, and we met and hung out all afternoon yesterday, didn't we, talking to them about all sorts of things. But one of the things that really stuck in my mind talking to them was they were about moving from America and being minimalist about it. And they raised my minimalism and played the essentialism card, which I haven't really looked a great deal into it, since yesterday. But it's quite stunning to think that there might be something called essentialism that focuses on what's really important. And that's not an easy process to go through, is it? When you're unpacking all your stuff, like you're opening up your mind in front of you on the bed, looking, do I keep this? Do I let go of that? And how many times have I moved now? And all these sorts of things are going on. I mean, your buttons have been pushed a bit, haven't they, in this last little
massively pushed in this last 4 years. In the last day, or what are you talking about? Like last 3 months, 6 months?
Yeah.
I think my buttons get pushed every time I move home, because I'm, I don't know how I'm ending up in situations whereby we don't have a permanent home that feels right for us as a family, for us to thrive in. But it seems to elude me somehow, and I don't get it. And over the last, since we've been together, love, we've been like collecting all the things that we might need to create our perfect home, or even just a nice home, or one, like just like the just for now home, like not Mr. Right, but Mr. Right Now, like like the home right now would be nice. But
hold on a minute. Is that something?
What I'm getting a bit fed and struggling with is in the last couple of moves, we've been getting rid of stuff that I've been collecting to set up our home with. So I know when we set up our next home, because I think we're going to be going on holiday very shortly. We don't have a new home to go to, but we are moving home this week. So we are.
That sounds like a cry for help. That's a cry for help. Why don't you just write on a piece of paper, help?
No, I mean, you know, I'm seeing it as a bit of a, you know, there's obviously something that I need to like release and go easy on myself about, and I think there's a much bigger understanding that hasn't quite hit me yet, but will come up. But what I do struggle with is seeing all the things I've carefully brought into our world for a very specific reason, you know, for us to settle and feel very settled and stable, and then to let it go, like, you know, letting go of the chickens, the worms, like the worm farm, even little things, you know, we're getting rid of our washing machine, our shelves.
That's not a little thing. You've
No,
never had to move it.
yeah, okay, but I mean, you know, like, you know, just like, I don't know, I'm just getting a bit tired of setting up home and then having to dismantle it. And I guess the only, like, one of the main reason, I guess, why it's so difficult is because it feels like I'm dismantling myself each time I do it.
Yeah.
You know, everything I've got or we've got, I identify with, you know, and this time is really reminding me of when we left from the UK to come to Portugal. You know, like getting rid of things, selling things, recycling things. I know a couple of people who are just moving here at the moment who are, you know, selling, recycling, giving away. And we're in that process. It's almost like we're moving abroad, and yet we're really downsizing, and I'm feeling the stress of it. But when we leave later on this week with our 3 kids and our 2 dogs, and just whatever clothes we need for the next interim period, and enough money to keep us going, and then our work things, I know we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because we always are fine, but it's that, you know, it's that moment of the unknown, and knowing that what's coming up is really unscripted. And like, funny, Victoria's just popping in. She's saying there's a lot of grief involved in moving. We are leaving a lot behind and dealing with attachment. We have to keep looking forward to the new life. It's a tug of war all the way. I absolutely agree, Victoria. I mean, it really is a massive tug of war. And presumably, if you're coming over, does that mean you're leaving your son in America? I mean, that must be huge. I mean, Carl's got older children, and, you know, they were quite busy doing their own things when we left for Portugal, but we left our parents behind. And so I felt a bit of guilt about that. And that's something that, yeah, that's what I think a lot of people, you know, expats feel, is they have this sort of expat guilt along the way, you know, about the people they've left behind, you know, because when people might need us, we're not always there in the same way. And so we have to kind of reconcile that at some level. But yeah, there's a lot of grief involved for sure.
I want to come back to that, actually, because I really like the healthiness of how Victoria's put that to me, you know, how it occurs to me. And Lee, you know, coming back to the whole thing about setting boundaries sooner rather than later, without, you know, leaving it and then blowing up and minefielding people. Being honest about your boundaries and ability. Oh, so he's added in ability there, which is interesting, isn't it? That's interesting that you should add that, Lee. And it is, you know, completely agree with you.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. That kind of relates, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because I guess we, you know, we might not want to own up to the limits of our ability, so pretend that hasn't happened, maybe. But it's important for your own mental health as well. So thanks for that, Lee. And the tug of war is interesting, isn't it? Because often, you know, in the blokey binary way, it's like, well, it's just a matter of getting rid of stuff. Stop moaning. You know, that's, you know, I don't, you know, I gave away the golf clubs that my dad gave me this week, and not in any greatly meaningful way. You know, I don't want to sort of over sentimentalize it. But you know, that was a bit of a thing. And on that basis, you could keep so much stuff in life, couldn't you? Because someone touched it who you love or did love, who was once alive or whatever. And I'm pretty certain that things aren't as important as memories are, and the actual, a bit like that, you know, on Facebook, you know, it occurred to me that the view is in the viewer. You know, so it's the experience of on the wonder of the person looking at the view that's the important thing, rather than the view itself. Because as you know, I realized that we've lived on some spectacular views, but every time I look at them, I'm not taken by their spectacularness. I can become complacent. So clearly it's more to do with my inner state. And I think it's the same with stuff. You know, stuff creates a feeling, doesn't it? And you can have the feeling without the stuff. That's the interesting thing. But you have to sort of consciously do it. But I do like it, Victoria, how I would say that's sort of female wisdom there at work. You know, you're being aware that it's a tug of war. It's both things. It's like, you know, you can be a minimalist and you can also miss things. And that's the multitasking nature of the female mind. I think that those two thoughts can be possibly together in one brain, whereas blokes have to just say, nope, I'm not sentimental. I'm just dropping all my stuff off at the bin in Portugal, and within an hour, it'll all been taken away by the bin pixies anyway.
Well, I mean, that is what we're doing, isn't it, at the moment? In fact,
it's been amazing. When the day I took my golf clubs I gave my golf clubs to the guy at the local sports club, and I'd taken some other stuff to the bins, and I sat drinking a beer outside the sports club, and I watched people pull up and take our stuff away from the bins. And it was like within 20 minutes, within 10 minutes, you know, one kid had jumped on a scooter and he was off, and then a van pulled up and got rid of everything else from there. It's lovely to see it go somewhere useful. That's really helpful.
It'd be nice that our kids' bikes actually get used, wouldn't it? So
yeah, that's right. With our cerebral children, they're not too bothered about physical things.
Not very good, are they?
No.
So Victoria's added, home is where you're all together. I get it. I've been a hermit crab for several years now, moving to Spain and then back to the US, and now to Portugal, and leaving a 2.5-year-old grandson behind.
Oh, tricky one, Victoria.
Tricky, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one thing that a lot of people, I think it's quite important to do, is to have some kind of plan on how you can get back, and you know, how easily it can happen, and kind of make provisions for it. A lot of the expats we speak to are here, there, and everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah. What do you mean mentally?
No,
Oh, no,
like
you don't mean that.
going home. But people often pop back and stuff, and I think, you know, if you know when you're going to be popping. I mean, I've got a client who works in different states in the US, and you know, is trying to hold her family together from like 3 different states, and kind of goes between all of them whilst also managing to fit it in with her own life and her own job.
Yeah.
And you know, we're all doing that actually, even if we're in the same country. But yeah, it's super tricky.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yes, although we don't know, you know, because we've also met expats, haven't we, who seem to have done some work on letting go of people.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't love people anymore,
No,
but
they love
they're clear that they've made a move and they've made a decision, and you know, they're taking that full responsibility for it, which I think is really brave and tough. And you know, we never really know, do we, what it's like for anyone else. But my first reaction to that, Victoria, would be, you know, that must be difficult. I've got a granddaughter myself who I don't see hardly at all, except through photographs. And you know, I could make a better effort, and I don't. And that's the truth of it. And you know, for me, the hopes of that being better are in the future, and I have to find you know, I do find a way to accept that. And I could take a leaf out of your book, so I guess, Victoria, it's like, you know, acknowledge that it's difficult and awkward and painful, and it is how it is as well. That perhaps is, I don't know. That's why I was taking from what you were saying before, you know, and to have these simultaneous yet contradictory feelings and sensations and awarenesses going on. So yeah, I thank you for that. Our stuff is our infrastructure, says Cindy B. Hey, Cindy B. Good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. In a way, it feels like undermining the foundation. Yeah, at least to me, I'm experiencing this now as I prep to move to Portugal. Goodness, you know, we really on. This is a theme, isn't it? You know, the minimalism, the essentialism. What it's all very well, you know, being rational about it, and it does seem, you know, from just leaning into the expats Portugal thing at the moment, you know, the cost of moving things. and the fact that we live in a globalized world where it's actually easier to probably replace things, leave them at home, and then replace things when you get here, whilst considering whether you really need them anyway. The money or the emphasis is on minimalism and letting go of stuff, but then comes the challenge of doing that, right? And you can't replace sentimentally valuable things, because if you go to IKEA or wherever, or Amazon or whatever you buy your stuff from, and it's not, you can't buy the thing that so and so gave you there, can you? So you feel like you might want to bring those particular bits with you, and artworks and so on. But it is the strangest little bits, as you know, from my odd collection of knickknacks that I've got, that I've dragged around the world.
Yeah.
Why would I bring that?
Yeah.
And I think I've cut a bit deeper this time than I have before. But there are things that I am not
so much, Carl. Is that just so we can cut through all our stuff and keep giving it away?
Do you think so we keep moving
until we actually get it right?
Oh, I see. Well, then we didn't read the minimalism book, right? I don't think they're recommending that you keep moving so you can keep letting go of stuff. They probably just do it once. And that should be good enough.
A few people joining us now, so let's say hello to now Jacqueline. Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks for joining us. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jacqueline, you've been living abroad for many, many years now. I'd love to know if you still have that feeling of expat guilt that some of us feel, or how you manage, how you manage your life in terms of reconciling where you were and where you are now. I'm guessing, does it ever clear? And if so, what were the real turning points for you in your experience? I'd love to know that.
Well, that's a great question, isn't it? Because Jacqueline would know that better than any of us here, after a long time of moving away from original home to new home. And is this now the new home? What happens? Fantastic. Yeah. Please let us know, Jacqueline Branco, on that. And thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Victoria is saying shedding has become a full-time job, and Cindy is agreeing, saying, I completely agree that the shedding has become a full-time job. There's a lot of mental shedding going on as well. It's funny that you say that, Cindy, because I've also been sort of like detoxing and like almost like if I can prepare my body for it, to me it feels like, as above so below, in and out, etc. And I think if I'm preparing my body or cleaning my body and getting rid of all the old stuff that no longer needs to be there, it should almost start to mirror, or at least the sentiment will mirror in my physical world as well. And one thing I've noticed is just how emotional I felt whilst I'm sort of clearing out my body. Loads of stuff's been coming up. It just feels like, maybe that's the theme of what's going on now for most people. I really don't know, but I'm hearing it from a lot of clients right now that everyone feels like they just want to clear everything out. It's like opening up all our physical drawers. Like it's almost like we've got all this congestion somehow.
It's a way to feel free, isn't it?
Yeah, like absolutely clear. And it's funny that I said congestion, because as I said that, I then thought I want to clear my airwaves. If you think about what's been going on in the media and what we've been told has been going on, and our experience from friends and family and this, that, and the other, the whole kind of collective meme is very much about a congestion and not being able to breathe and not having the freedom to breathe. And I really would like to feel the freedom right now, and just sort of like clear it all out. And sorry, that's what your lovely comment made me think of. Sorry, I took it on a bit too far there.
Well, I think there's probably a little bit of packing advice there. So if I'm right in understanding what you've just said, if I use my colonic irrigation stuff before we move, we might not have to take it with us, because I'll have cleared everything. And I bet you, if I leave that kit by the bin, no one's going to take that away. But you never know. You never know, do you? You never know. Yeah.
That's one thing I wouldn't pick up secondhand, is someone else's old colonic irrigation kit
on eBay. Yeah,
rank.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Okay. Yes. So even before I told my brother I was going back to Europe, he said to me, "I can tell you're just itching to get on a plane." I had to laugh. He knows me so well. That's family for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh, and you're in that. I can only imagine what that must be like. We moved from UK to Portugal, and when I hear of people moving from the US and all they have to go through and the visas and everything,
Mhm.
I just realised how lucky we were to be pre-Brexit movers and be Europeans. I take my hat off to Americans who are doing it. Really do. There's so much
Yeah.
more involved, and it's a much bigger move. I'm not trying to dramatize it. I just just seeing that or acknowledging that it is a big thing that you're doing there, Victoria. But you're clearly a transatlantic person anyway of many years by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Yep. So Victoria, getting back to Cindy on that, going through the photo albums. Now these are the tricky things. Going back to what I struggle to get rid of. I keep many things that children make me and draw on. So a child will make something out of an old cocktail stick and a bit of blue tack, and some clumsily folded sellotape, and I'll keep that, and I'll
Yeah.
struggle to throw that away. And it is the same with photos, isn't it? How do you get down to? And I've got a few vinyl records left. I've got a few cassettes left. I've got a few. I've got a bag of CDs, and it is feeling like it's going down to the wire on these things because it down to on my books. I've got down to how many feet of books now? I think I've got 6 feet of books now, maybe, possibly, and those are the ones that people have given to me. Either there's a sentimental attachment to the process of the person giving it to me or the author. Lucky enough to have quite a few signed books from people I've interviewed and talked to, and I struggle to get rid of those, really. So there you go. Simon's here tonight. Victoria, so how are you doing that with the photo albums? I mean, the thing about digital now is helpful, isn't it? It really is. But holding the old photos and just well, it feels like a betrayal to throw a photograph away of somebody. When I went through my dad's stuff, and my dad took terrible photographs, and they deserved to be thrown away. But if he was in them, I'm thinking I'm throwing him away, which is obviously not the case. So I think I did just take digital copies of some things and did. Yeah, I mean, old people, what are they like with when they used to have a camera like a 35mm automatic camera, a compact camera, and would just take loads of terrible pictures that they took to the chemist, and then they would sit in the wallet, in the very same wallet that they came in, all blurred and just not very good composition and all that sort of stuff. But you're thinking, oh, he took it with his own hands and saw that through his own eyes and brain. I'll move on. Although, guys, our bungalow is rammed full of stuff. Right. So I did get that feeling, Simon, from what you talked about before, because you're a bit of a collector and speculator, aren't you? That your house might be, you might have a few sort of interesting things there. So full of stuff, starting to streamline when I load, when daughter goes back to school. Okay, a bit of a delay built in there, Simon. Waiting for daughter to go back. Well, you're going to give us some stuff to take to school, maybe, or maybe for the school tabletop sale, a few more things can go. Yeah, I mean, I'd be very interested to know how people are doing it. So we're talking about physical baggage here, aren't we? And some of the emotional baggage that goes with it. But the theme was owning up and owning your nonsense. And I did have a bit of nonsense to share and own up to that I went into earlier on. Anyone else got anything that they want to share? Some of us here might describe ourselves as light workers, and we're pink and fluffy, all the rest of it. But we can be a-holes as well, can't we? Sometimes.
Yeah.
So you might want to. Yeah, you might want to tell us a little bit about that if you've had a realization recently, or you could put it in the third person. A friend of mine told me what an idiot they'd been, and this is what happened. Jacqueline Branco, well, Colin, oh, excellent! Look, not missing an opportunity. Any bits and bobs you want to dispose of, pop along to our tabletop sale event next Saturday. I don't think we're going to be in the area then. What we might do is pop back and buy some of our stuff back from you that we need. So we'll put that in our diary. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Oh, look at this. Yes. Oh, and Cindy's, as well as owning up to books being her downfall, she's had 2 bookstores and has a real addiction. So, your word, not mine, addiction there. I mean, you're dealing with another level there, aren't you? not just being attached to stuff, but an uncontrollable urge in a way that got you into the position in the first place, that might be related to something even deeper there, Cindy. Not probing, by the way. You don't have to tell us what that's all about, although we've all got our opinions now.
Yeah, and I love this one from Kimberly Jones. Hi, Kimberly, by the way. One of my teachers years ago said spiritual New Age people are the angriest bunch of you'll ever meet. And I would agree, actually. I would say maybe passive aggressive. Like people holding it back, and then sort of like going completely loco.
Minefielding. It's the minefielding again, isn't it? I hope I'll be remembered for that term. Minefielding.
Okay.
Yeah. It's in the book, Come Back to Life. Everybody. Did I say I wrote a book?
In your free book, you're giving me away right now.
I might have mentioned it, mightn't I? But yeah, and and it is, it's, God bless them. We that's not to single out New Age people, because we've all got our faults. There's just a special and delicious irony, isn't there, about people who are love and light, but are also brimstone and treacle occasionally as well. When the proverbial hits the fan, and that's not to take anything away from anybody or undermine or criticize anyone unnecessarily. It's just funny, because I find that with Buddhists as well. My theory about a lot of Western Buddhists, I don't mean original Buddhists. I mean a lot of people like myself. When I was a kid, I was really drawn towards Buddhism, and I think it's because it just seems so rational and unemotional. And I think as a particular kind of Buddhistically leaning Westerner who loves the idea of nothing arising, and it's not a religion, it's a framework, it's an ethical framework more than a religion possibly, and it's a way of looking at the world. And they can be some angry dudes as well, in that scene too, I've noticed from time to time. And again, not to criticize, it's just funny, isn't it? Just interesting. Louisa, go on. This is for you, I think.
Oh, congestion is the perfect description. Thank you for clarifying that. Will certainly help me continue on with the decluttering. You know what I often find myself doing whenever I feel a little bit overwhelmed, I almost can't help myself. And I do it every pregnancy that I have as well, as I'm addicted. Have you got some next to you?
What, some of your... No, it's just it's some of the things that are kept from pregnancy and children. And placenta aguardent we've got. Placenta dent we have at our house. What?
Stop it.
Okay, sir.
Well, like, I need to explain that. But Tiger Balm, I don't know if you have it in the States. It's really strong camphor type thing to help you sort of like declutter, get rid of any congestion in your nose, and you can like rub it on your chest and stuff. And it's pretty hardcore. It makes you cry if you get it in your eyes. But Carl was placenta
a bit like chilies.
I need to get it out now. It's probably time for me to start using it. But with my last 2 pregnancies, I kept the placenta and pickled them in vodka to make a sort of apparently
worst vodka and tonic I've ever had.
We've actually got this Kilner jar with my old umbilical cord in some vodka, and it looks like a science experiment. It looks like you're expecting to see like a pickled frog or something, but allegedly the elixir is really good for menopause, and I'm going to be 47 this year, so apparently it's like natural HRT. And you've created it yourself. So we have traveled around with this, and it's a good job we didn't get stopped at customs. But yeah, I need to
imagine, Pickford's going through the stuff, and they're like, we're working on your quote, and I'm afraid there are some things we're not prepared to move from your house. You take that in the car with you.
Yeah.
But I think when Keith Richards hears about this, he'll put an offer in on it to rejuvenate himself, maybe.
Who knows? But I think we need to sort of bury the cord somewhere, and
we need to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Hello, Paula.
Hi, Paula.
just moved here a week ago and unpacking hundreds of boxes. I thought we were getting your boxes. I saw a Facebook message, does anybody want any boxes? And I went and got them. I thought I was coming to your house at first, Paula. Lots of which we realised we don't need. Yeah, I find quietly sitting and watching a sunset or listening to sheep, church bells, birds, etc. so soothing. That's beautiful, Paula. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you're not far from us here on the Silver Coast.
I'm really glad
feel like you've
home
come
already.
home.
Nice.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Never mind about all that stuff in the boxes. There's the real thing, right? There's sheep and you've got sheep in your area. The old Welsh leisure centre on the Silver Coast there. Church bells, birds. You just winced a little bit there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Birds, etc. So soothing. I feel like John will appreciate that, Paula, if you pass that on. Oh, sorry.
Gives a whole new meaning to the term clearing cords and cutting the ties.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're so right, please. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. And you took the congestion thing. You make a good connection there, because I did a huge sneeze when I was out picking up the boxes this morning. I won't tell you what happened, but it was a clearing moment. And I did think to myself, I thought something's moving here. You know, my recent realization, we're moving.
Yeah,
things are moving. Yes. And I had an uncongesting thought or decongesting thought this morning about how I have mind-fielded people probably all my life, and out it was coming physically as well. I won't go into that too deeply, but I did think that, had that very same thought this morning. Kimberly, I let go of the love and light stuff a few years ago. It's a phase, isn't it? It's definitely a phase for the the spiritually, the new agey, the personal development types. It's a bit of a, I don't know if it's a rite of passage, but it's part of the passage, isn't it? The more I get grounded and embrace my flawed humanity, I noticed how spiritual bypassing culture kept me from accepting myself as I am. Any thoughts on that? Just so with you.
100% agree with you there, definitely.
Yeah. And again, there is is it a dichotomy, or what? I don't know what the right way of putting it is, but these are exactly the sort of things we want to talk about on here, Kimberly. You've hit the nail on the head. That's a key theme to what Spiritual Portugal is about. And let me just.
I'd like to drop the name, actually, Spiritual Portugal.
But what can you that's what we're about, isn't it? And I'm just putting on here Saturdays. That's musing and schmoozing, just easy going on a Saturday night if we're not too tired to do so. But Tuesdays is the real deal, isn't it, for the show, the Spiritual Portugal? And I put in special gussets there, and I thought I'd just leave it. But it's actually special guests.
I read that as special guests anyway. My mind reworded that.
I can't promise if there will be special gussets or not that need reinforcement or something like that. But.
Our special guest this coming Tuesday is Helder Valente, who is a Portuguese guy who lives further up north from us, and he's a permaculture guru, I guess. He's worked with all the greats, and he travels the world. He spends 6 months or so in Portugal. And he just looks at permaculture from not just from in terms of gardening and things like that, but in terms of seeing that society can adopt permacultural principles. But he's a really, really great guy, and he's got a cracking sense of humor. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be good, won't it?
Yeah. Well, that again is part of this broadening conversation of spirituality. And I get you. You don't want to call it Spiritual Portugal, really, but it's a starting point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a starting point. And then once we've kind of established ourselves, I'd really like to drop that name and I don't know.
What do you call it? What are you thinking of calling it? Like normal life?
Well,
daily Portugal.
Even I mean, like it's interesting it's got Portugal in it, because obviously you run your Good Morning Portugal show, and right now we're living in Portugal and lots of people are moving here. But actually calling it Spiritual Portugal could actually sort of alienate people, because
it's true.
A lot of people might just see that and think, oh, it's nothing to do with me, it's not about Portugal necessarily. It's just that's the location that we're in, and it kind of ties into your work and it kind of ties into mine. But I'd love to do something, just change our name when we're a bit more established.
Yeah, but certainly, Kimberly, this is one of the key themes. Is I don't know. You could call it grown-up spirituality, couldn't you? Or rounded
Yeah,
spirituality, practical spirituality.
like
You know, it's what's really
granny spirituality. You know, like how grannies, you know, get their kettle on and give you a slice of
yeah,
cake, and you know
and a piece of their
more,
mind.
yeah, but they're more worried about everything being good, people feeling good, not necessarily things being right. And I think
Yeah,
that's a distinction.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
indeed,
And
and
also
not and
they drop all that kind of ego stuff, you know, the older they get, I think.
and
What
not
have
focusing too much on the gloom and doom subject as one of the greatest bits of advice I ever had. Around the time I wrote Come Back to Life, the book that I might have mentioned before, this great bloke, this great older guy who, you know, and I've always enjoyed the input of, you know, like senior, more mature guys who are a bit, you know, down to earth, but they've lived, you know, father figure sort of stuff. And this guy, Clive, he was when I first met him, he was sat in a chair like an old granddad. And I just thought, we're not going to get much out of him. He's just like zoned right out, tuned out. But he was watching everything. And I actually became quite close to him and started working with him, doing a bit of PR. And one day he wrote me a letter. He wrote me the most amazing letter, seeing that I was just too intense and earnest in my life. And he said, you know, come on, you need to, I think I was single at the time. And he said, you know, you need to get yourself a super gal. He was a bit like Swiss Tony as well. Get yourself a lovely gal and stop talking about the gloom and doom subjects. And he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right. Because another similar bloke, Johan Kanje, a book I've just given away, actually. He didn't sign it, but I remember going to his house, and he was a wonderful spiritual bloke who I came across when I was working at Positive News. And he just struck me as a great bloke. And I went to visit him in his flat. He had this fantastic flat overlooking Battersea Park, full of these beautiful antiques. He was proper foreign and posh. And you walked into his house and you're like, this is something very different. And he had a real expanded awareness to him. And he was also a European MEP. And he signed off one of his letters to me, be of good cheer, Carl. And that made an impression
Yeah.
on me. It was so good that, you know, it's on a bad day, being told to cheer up is really annoying, isn't it? But when it comes from the heart, from an older man to a younger man, who just sees, you know, maybe this young fella's just a little bit too, you know, bothered about things. Relax, young man, enjoy your life. And I just took it on that basis. And then those two guys really stick in my mind for that. Well, in my heart, really. Sorry, but that Kimberly, yes, absolutely right. This is a key theme, key thought for Spiritual Portugal. Thank you very much. Not throwing the photos away, says Victoria, but they're all in these albums that I have to take apart. So it's quite a time. Oh, so stacking them and putting them together, saving space rather than the old albums. What are they? Are they those old albums with big gold rings on the spine and those plastic that you that kind of stuff, or the ones with the little corners on that were an absolute nightmare to put together? These are all photos before the internet, lol, when my kids were growing up. How lovely. Fantastic. What beautiful collection I'm sure that is. Okay, lots of comments. Now, this usually happens, doesn't it? 1 minute to go, strictly speaking, and suddenly the comments start pouring in. He says something about the tabletop sale, go back to school. Gives a whole new meaning to the term. Yep, we got that, and you're absolutely right, Kimberly. Yeah, for sure. Terry's here as well. Terry Ely. I'm very happy to have found you both tonight. Well, Igualman, it's great to have you here.
Terry, are you one of Carl's pals? Because I don't know your name. So how did you find us? That's
Yes, explain yourself, Terry. Now, from the expats Portugal side of things, coming to Portugal. Yeah, absolutely. The conversation. So we're looking at possible names, aren't we? Yeah, the conversation. Yes. I mean, does everybody think it is a bit too pretentious to be called Spiritual Portugal?
Yeah, totally. I do.
Well, why didn't you say something before?
Oh, this is what I need to own up to, isn't it?
Oh, this is spiritual baggage. Okay,
yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, my spiritual baggage.
Incoming.
I go along with things. Yeah, that's it. I go along with things. Even if
that's it. And I don't really like to say anything, so I'm not going to.
Unless I'm on air, like 4 weeks down the line.
Yes.
No, I sometimes have thoughts that, you know, maybe that's not a good idea, or maybe that's not quite right. And I have a fear that if I kick off, or if I say I don't like that, and can we do it slightly differently, I feel that that, you know, people might just walk away from me, or say, oh no, that's, you don't believe me, that's it, goodbye, you know. So I think I do it because I fear rejection. And sometimes it takes me a while to work out what my feelings are about things, you know, because yeah, a bit like what Victoria was talking about earlier, you know, saying, you know, that it's yeah, I'm definitely a people pleaser, definitely, Kimberly. But you know, Victoria was saying it's like a tug of war, and so sometimes I do think it's a good idea, but I can also see the downsides, and I don't know how to quite put it. And sometimes my clarity on it comes a little bit later.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what the show was about tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like seeing stuff. You know, going back to Friday's Feel Good Friday with Jenny, she's got this great.
You're very like, you make quick decisions, Carl, and when you make your decisions, you make them with a certain amount of you're quite definitive in them, and so it's easier actually to go along with your ideas, because I know that you also change your ideas quite regularly as well. So you know, at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, this will probably change at some point. So let's sort of like go along with it. And yeah, with the Spiritual Portugal, there was a part of me that thought, I'm not quite comfortable with that name, but didn't really say anything about it.
Bless you.
It's all cool.
I thought you loved it as well.
No, I love
Wouldn't
the
that
idea.
be funny? No, wouldn't that be funny though? You know, I'm thinking I've made this show especially for her, and she'll love the name Spiritual Portugal. And then I had a conversation with you, and you said, "Yeah, that's a lovely idea." And then you pretended you liked it.
That was about us working together.
Ah, okay. Isn't that great? So it just goes to show the need for deep communication, doesn't it? Like, just, you know, communication can appear to have taken place, can't it? Okay. Terry is saying, just moved to the States, just moved from the States, sorry, moved here with husband and watched Carl's show back in the US.
Oh,
Yeah,
how are you finding
from early on. Yeah, let us know how you're doing. We love it. Own it, guys. Yeah, absolutely. A bit of owning going on there. We need a sound effect for that, don't we? A little jingle or something. Someone just owned something. Unlike Jenny, you know, ABC, awareness brings change, and being aware of these things, I think, sets something in motion, doesn't it? For sure. I'm saying it out loud.
Like, I mean, I'm sure Kimberly will back me up here, you know, as a fellow empath. Sometimes we don't always know what we're feeling, because like I pick up on so many different things all the time that I don't always know what's mine and what's not mine. I know that sounds like somebody who doesn't experience life like that, they'll be like, what the hell is she talking about? But I really, you know, I feel things. You know, I mean, that's why I work as a mystic, or you know, somebody who helps other people work out what's important to them, because I feel like I know what is going on for the other person, because I mean, and they report back to me that I do, but I know it.
So I could say to you,
all these different things. That's why, you know, a lot of the situations we get ourselves in, and I say, I'm not sure about that, and then later on it turns out that I was right all along. And I don't mean to say that to be a party pooper, but you know, I often do know what's going on. You know, I'll pick up on things, and it's a bit strange being like that, especially.
Yeah, so Kimberly does understand. Yeah, empath confusion. One of my tricks is to stop and ask, "Is this mine?" So I should stop saying to you, "You're just about to have a great idea," and then tell you what it is. We've got this great idea, instead of saying I've got this great idea. Okay. Well, here's another way of bringing some humor to this, to shifting this situation. So we can have. I'll put that up there because this is a limerick. There once was a girl called Louisa who was a bit of a people pleaser, and then finish it off as you wish. How would you like that to end? and now her life is much easier. So we need the other two lines in the bit of it.
Could have a teaser in there as well.
A teaser.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, like when we first met.
Sometimes, you know, they can come across as insincere, you know, because people, you know, don't know if they can trust them necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, well, okay. That's we got the empath angle on that as well as, you know, boundaries, what's mine, what's not mine. Fascinating stuff, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about it. We're emptying the lot from the attic. Years of child's clothes, toys, and old shop stock, clearing the decks for fresh horizons. That's got to feel good in the end, isn't it? Because I think carrying around all our old stuff or knowing it's up there, clearing the decks, a good expression, and I'm sure that will just be refreshing for these fresh horizons. Simon, sounds great. Keep up the good work there. This is great, as well as the names that have come in. It was, oh God, too much. Is that to do with the vodka? I wonder, or was it to do with putting the colonic irrigation kit on eBay? I wonder what that was about. Okay. Kimberly got called Ernest Ernie by William Bloom.
That's
and
a good name.
Yeah.
Check, in it.
Old Willie Bloom, he's a mischievous old fellow. Because I remember going to a few people from UK or who travelled to UK on a spiritual scene might remember Alternatives at St James's in Piccadilly, and there was a thing there I went to that had Lynn, whatever her name was, Lynn Franks, the PR woman who got all spiritual. Rupert Sheldrake was on it, and there were. It was a day of speakers, and William Bloom was the MC of it. And I was quite taken by I thought he was quite earnest, but he started the day. I went with, you know, I was going through a very Ernest Ernie time myself. I mean, to give you the backstory, I lived in a bloody vegan commune basically, and most of my fellow communards were bald and pale, and of that Buddhistic mindset I was talking about before. You know, the cultivated exterior of peace and calm, but probably seething inside with all manner of unhealed and unresolved things. And fair play to them, you know, they were giving it a go. They wanted the right time and place to deal with this stuff. I'm sure, otherwise they wouldn't have been involved in this community that we were involved in with all its earnest activities. But Willie, and I was there with these guys in the pews, the rows of pews at St James's. And William Bloom comes along and says, "Okay, play the music." And it's ding, 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 ding. Love is in the air. And it's like, everybody up, we're dancing now. And he started the day playing Love is in the Air. And some of the, you know, like obviously the guys, you know, my nemesis type spiritual guy who's with the tan skin and the leather waistcoat and the ponytail, he's straight up raving and showing off his chest to all the girls and winking at them and stuff like that. I'm into Osho, you know, see you later. That guy's dancing straight away. But the more awkward hippie guys are like, love is in the air. Oh my God. But William wouldn't have it. Stand up, you're dancing. And it was just so fantastic. And it's just stayed with me. And I've taken risks like that ever since, you know, like putting audiences or groups of people on the spot like that. And you've got to keep going. And he did. And he got everybody up and dancing. It was just the best start to a spiritual day, because it could have been so deeply earnest and serious. And he just completely changed the atmosphere by getting everybody up like that. And I love that song as a result. Always reminds me of that moment. So, dear old Willie Bloom, how's he doing? I wonder. Here's a great name. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Life and Soul of Portugal. And wisdom, down to earth. That's what we're talking about here. And that's a good reminder, Kimberly. And you know, these are the basics, aren't they, that we're reaching for here. And the conversation, as Cindy B mentioned before, it's good, isn't it?
I want to see.
I mean, we could have Life and Soul of Portugal in the kind of subtitle, couldn't we? You know, conversations about that. But this is great. So thank you very much. Hard to define, says Calming Waters of Tai Chi. Do you have a baby crying? I see you're a little bit distracted there.
Yeah. No, I'm just seeing if there is a channel already called The Conversation.
Oh, there would be, wouldn't there? I mean, there would be, but you know, I'm sure we can put an angle on it.
Subscribers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. She learned to say no. Oh, here we go. There once was a girl called Louisa, and I'm saying Louisa because it rhymes with people pleaser. So there once was a girl called Louisa who was a bit of a people pleaser. She learned to say no, life started to flow, and living her own truth got easier.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Poetry.
Thank you so much. Hang on, let's see if I can copy that. I can't easily grab on that. Kimberly, could you
Yeah, what the whole thing?
could you copy that and whiz it over to me in a messenger? I'd love that. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
That's beautiful, isn't it? I recently learned as a deep empath that our boundary is hard to define. I think that might say. So we actually feel the entire world. I can, I can relate to that to some extent, not as much as some of you others here. So for sure, calming waters, Tai Chi. And where are you? Lovely to have your company tonight.
Yeah.
Calming waters, Tai Chi.
Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Sometimes I do feel like in the past, and I think I might have had a conversation about it with Kimberly when I was in the UK. There were times when I felt like there was some kind of healing crisis going on, and I would think like, where's this coming from? This isn't mine. And I know that it wasn't mine, but I would be feeling something really, really strong and trying to kind of understand what was happening. And I think right now there's probably a lot of people. Oh, you're Sharon Mundy. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think right now there's probably a lot of people suffering from what's going on in the world, especially with all separation and the anxiety around it. I think a lot of empaths are going to be really struggling. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Sharon.
We gave you a shout out because you wrote that lovely things, where you said, watch this space, an amazing, inspiring space, blah, blah, blah. And it was a lovely fireside chat. So we shared that. We actually gave you a shout out. So thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. It's lovely.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. I think we're going to wrap up quite soon because we got some house viewing and all sorts to do tomorrow. But it's been lovely to be here, and thank you, Sharon. Appreciate it. There, blowing love kisses to both of you. Thank you so much. Right back at you. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the empath thing and feeling the whole world. This connects, doesn't it, with this possible theme that you and I have been talking about. How much conspiracy is enough. And the whole world of
different conversation, mightn't it?
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think it's connected, isn't it? For people who are deep empaths, and who might be subscribers to some serious conspiracy theory type news sources. I imagine that's like moth to flame sort of stuff, isn't it? You want to know what the truth is about what's going on in the world. And you can feel people's dissonance and difficulty with so much of this stuff. So being an empath in that mix, I think I'm quite dense compared to you in many ways, and some of the people here, and I'm quite blunt about my approach to that sort of stuff. But I would love to know how that is for more, so that I can understand my wife better. In many ways, how is it that the deeply sensitive people want to expose themselves to deep levels of the awfulness of the world? Let's face it, that's what it is, isn't it? And how is that for them? So what's going on there? What's enough, or what becomes too much? And how do you know you've had too much until you have too much? And then probably that's very upsetting for people as well, I would have thought, by that stage.
From my own perspective, I feel like I need to witness it, to know that others are suffering. Until it gets witnessed, it gets ignored. And at some level, I feel it anyway. And since I've met you and become a mum, a lot more of my sort of intuitive capacity has come on board. And so there have been many times when I've had, I don't know if they're flashbacks, flash forwards, me seeing things through somebody else's eyes. And there's some really horrible things that go on. And so when I hear that there is something like that, I want to expose it, because I don't want to live in a world like that. I really don't.
Yeah, I understand.
And I understand also that there are people who would rather turn a blind eye because it's too hard for them. They can't even comprehend it. And also their whole life would change. But a lot of empaths, I don't think, have ever had a very normal life, or if they have, they've not probably adjusted to it very well. I know Kimberly and I have had conversations about this. You know, I managed to, you know, work a corporate job for many years, but it didn't do me any favors. I mean, I learned a lot of great things. I'm grateful for it, but it didn't suit who I was. And so I think a lot of empaths and sensitives are built for this kind of thing. Even though they're super sensitive, they're built for it, because they sense when something isn't right. They know when something's not right. With canaries in the coal mine.
Yep. Okay, fair enough. That helps. That helps me a great deal.
If we weren't there, people wouldn't know that we were being lied. Like we smell the bullshit from the governments. Sorry, we smell it a mile off. You know, whenever something like that, we were having this conversation this morning. You know, we know it's going on. We know something's not right, and our spidey senses. I'm holding a Spider-Man ruler. Our spidey senses start tingling, and like. I want to expose lies. You know, when I know something's not quite right, I want to know what's going on.
Yeah. I should point out as well, not everyone who meets me becomes a mum. You said there. I met you and became a mum. It doesn't happen to everybody, okay? Because that could really make it difficult if I start doing public appearances for Expats Portugal. It's not a certainty, everybody. Okay.
But it does make
great. But yeah, seriously, thank you, Kimberly, and likewise. I hope you know that. Always lovely to see you both. So I just love it to know that you're in the UK and you tune in, you see us online and jump on. I love it. Yes, and we want to save it. That's connected, isn't it? Sharon's saying there to us. It's about accepting the full human experience, the totality of dark and light, able to witness that which many cannot bear. Okay, I understand it more. Discerning truth, big T, rather than a little one, as an empath helps you not get influenced by collective consciousness.
Yes.
I think empaths are true detectives. It's a gift and a curse. Sounds like it, right? Yeah. And Sharon was agreeing with you when you were talking there. Yes, the witness thing. Cindy B as well. I feel like I'm here to witness right now. It is an easy thing being an empath. Like an octopus, says Sharon, we feel with our central nervous system. Yes, our spider legs hold onto the web in the field and we can feel the electrical strings move.
Yes, I'm sat here with all my sisters.
You are, aren't you? That's spooky as well. One of our packages behind the sofa here just moved when that happened. So some pots and pans shifted in the background there. We had an experience last night with a barn owl screeching overhead. First time we'd heard one. That's your power animal there, Simon. Wisdom incoming. My mum was an empath, as Kimberly, psychic, clairvoyant too. She used to say the truth always comes out in the end. We just see it before everyone else does.
Yes.
Well, yes. Yeah. Well, I just sit in the corner and read my paper. And there's not going to be any truth in that thing, is there? Right. Well, should we leave it there for tonight?
Yeah, we've both outed ourselves a little bit about some of the spiritual rubbish we hold on to, or the little games we play. I'm sure lots more will come out in the fullness of time, won't they?
Well, we invite it. I mean, if you want to fess up to something, a realization you've had about, I mean, because those, in many ways, those are more powerful, aren't they? The ones, the things we own and see something new about ourselves that has been a limitation, and we're getting free of it. That's such powerful stuff, and I'm sure others can relate to it when that happens.
Well, I want to share one more then.
Go on.
And it's related, and I shared it with you a few weeks ago. Do you remember after one of my feel good conversations with Rick in the morning, I came back to bed and I was all over you that day, telling you how much I love you and how sorry I was and how much I wanted to apologize. And in that conversation, I'd realized that being a people pleaser and not being able to articulate what I think in the moment, and my tendency to just go along with things, it gives me an opportunity to be right. And it gives me an opportunity.
I see. Yes, yes.
Well, if you'd listened to me, none of this would have happened. And whilst I feel that that's really abhorrent, and I would hate to be like that. I recognize there is a part of me that by doing that I get the chance to have the upper hand, rather than, you know, come clean and recognize that I just need to step up a bit. And, you know, you might reject me when I say, actually, I don't really like that name. And I should just stand in my power and say it. You know, you might not reject me. You might say, okay, I don't like that name either, or let's do something else.
Yes.
I'm not even giving you the chance to do that. So,
well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And yeah, I can see the combo at work. You know, people pleaser and empath. You know, like
yeah,
you kind of really know things, but then might not say anything about it.
yeah,
Which it does leave a big space for, I guess, for not being true to yourself, but also the ability to be right, as you
yeah,
say, sometime
that,
later on.
that's a really
Again.
that's a really dark part of the shadow, isn't it? I mean, that's really it's a really undesirable trait. But hey.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's really not the end of the world, but yeah, it's good of you to own up to it. Sharon, our heart knows 6 seconds before the brain. The empath is tuned in. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. I'm talking to Jenny about that on Friday as well. You know, why do we do it?
That's so true. What Kimberly just put up is
Is
actually, yeah, maybe me being in my power will help you too. It will shift
yeah,
things.
yeah, that's right. Absolutely. It's what I'm waiting for. No pressure. That's beautiful. You hide your truth, and that is a lie to you both. Yeah, says Sharon. Amazing tonight. And I feel a bit bad about, you know, we got to quite a crescendo, didn't we, there, of sharing and communication and connection on the empath thing for you and your sisters, as you put it. And maybe I'm just getting really uncomfortable now and feel the need to shut the show down. But really, I'm not doing that. I don't think so anyway.
No,
Bravo, Kimberly. True. No, we only ever planned to come on for an hour.
Yeah.
And have a chat. And it's been so lovely to each and every one of you. Sharon, Victoria, Kimberly, of course, Simon, Cindy B, Jacqueline, who was here earlier on as well, Terry too, and Paula. Thank you all so much for being here. And Lee as well. Lee might have fallen asleep, having had his 7th beer of the evening in Lisbon. And he'll just go, what? Yeah, say that again.
Simon was here as well.
Yeah, Simon, I thought I'd mention something. If I didn't, I'm so sorry. Good evening, and thank you to you all. Or have a good evening. Have a good rest of your. Well, in America, you've got a few more hours of the day to pack, Victoria, haven't you? And I think the rest of us in Europe. Say that again.
Have a lovely trip, Victoria, to see yourself.
Yeah, and you know, good luck with all the packing and the processing and everything there. And we'll see you soon. Our Shema. Yes, it's true, isn't it? It's such a stupid aspiration, isn't it, really? But, you know, to share another thing, I'm thinking like 8 minutes past 11 when there's one person watching, you know, and like I said before, it's Monty Python sperm stuff. Everyone is sacred. But it's like, oh, my goodness, we're not even going to be able to do an hour here. And then this tends to happen, doesn't it? It's lovely. We can't stop once we get started. I smell the bullshit all day long. That's why I don't like to talk about it, because people haven't progressed enough to see it yet. Again, that's difficult, isn't it? That's difficult. You know, in that state of knowing, and you know that, don't you?
Somebody else listening as well, Tiago.
Well, this Tiago Zeferino, Facebook friend, Bonoit from Tiago, who's known as a legendary chef in Burgos.
Really?
He's an amazing man. He is handsome, athletic, gifted in the kitchen, a fisherman. You know, he's an alpha male who can cook beautifully. I mean, ladies and men who like men. easy. Tiago is an absolute star and a poster boy for all that is great. Poster man for all that is great about Portuguese life, especially down in the Algarve. So thank you, Tiago, for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate you, and I hope all is going well. And Victoria, I think Frank has been to Tiago's place, as did Paul. I think, you know, our mutual friends. I hope Tiago's place is on your list as well. I don't know the answer to this, Kimberly. now I've done all of that selling of the man and marketing and PR stuff. I don't know. He may or may not wish to say. But thank you for tuning in, every one of you, and we'll see you again. We'll see you on Tuesday, right, with Helder.
Yes, with Helder. It'll be a really great, and it will be a really joyful session with Helder because he's so much fun.
Yeah. And so what's the theme? What's the theme?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Let's just see.
Permaculture.
Kimberly, thank you so much, Kimberly, for sending me my little limerick. Let's just see.
Oh,
in the conversation, how can nature and nurture support us? Permaculture for current times, the cycles of life and death, and health and rebirth. So we haven't really got a title for it yet, but what are you doing?
Sorry, I was going to play a little theme tune. I was looking for it, and then I suddenly changed it to Tanya.
But yeah, that's the sort of overall theme, and we'll just run with it. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's connecting with, and that's and I'm sure we'll be connecting with some of you folks here tonight in due course. So please, if you feel moved to do that, just drop us a line, and we'll just set up a date to do that on a Tuesday night. Absolutely. You're like Razor Sunshine. Thank you both of you. Oh, bless you, Simon.
Thank you so much, Simon.
Yeah, right back at you there, and it's been lovely. Bon night to you as well, Cindy B. Thank you very much. We will say goodbye for now and see you soon. Have a beautiful time of things. All the best to you. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.